There's something really calming in the nature. Its silent sounds, view, smell, and how it feels. Basically, all of it has this unique soothing effect, and is just so peaceful at its core. On the contrary, we have the overwhelming noise, industrial appearance, and an extreme rush of the city life. It's hard to find something more distant from what nature is really all about. Of course, I'm well aware of how much our present modern life gives us in countless fields. I'm also a fan of the digital part of it, even despite all its flaws. But does it mean that there's one thing or the other? And that we can't draw on the nature sphere side and what it has to offer? Because what's perhaps the most disturbing is that it seems to become easier and easier to forget about it altogether, and to the extent that nature feels kinda unnatural. Our minds are just too occupied by everything that's going on, so they hardly ever stop streaming their complicated thoughts. Let's be fully honest here, I don't remember about the calming effect that nature can have on me on a daily basis. I simply don't pay enough attention and don't really seem to have a clear place for it. I definitely don't take advantage of nature power. I don't think of it as a way to solve some of my issues. Do you? And can it actually help? So it has really struck me on a walk recently when I stumbled upon a deer. Weirdly as it sounds, it was basically in the middle of my small town, not far from my house during regular afternoon hours. It of course wasn't the first time in my life when I saw a deer. But in that particular moment, something clicked in me without any apparent reason. I just stood there for a while looking at the deer that wasn't really interested in me, and only gazed every once in a while just to be fully aware if there's no movement towards it. Mainly it minded its own business, eating some of the more green leaves from a nearby bush. I, on the other hand, differently than usually, really focused only on looking at it, and surprisingly stopped thinking about anything else. I literally just stand there and slowly started to notice all the other nature features around me. I heard wind howling between the branches of the trees. I precisely spotted the rays of lights emerging in front, and felt the very light rain which has just appeared out of nowhere. You get the picture. I've really fallen into this flow state, and it kinda opened my eyes, just because it doesn't happen to me normally. I was shocked how quickly the tension has been released from my mind and body, and how stress levels very high prior to this moment lowered. This is something I always work on for a much longer time to achieve, and I do it in a completely different manner. As mentioned before, definitely not taking advantage of the nature effect. Hell, not even remembering that such thing exists and might help. I'm certainly not a typical nature lover, hiking every spare time guy. I'd say I sometimes spend more time in front of the computer screen than I'd probably would like to. So the day nature effect caught me off guard was one of those high-paced, stressful working days which required lots of effort. I'm sure you know the feeling. I've been going all in from the very morning for many hours with almost no breaks and full focus. I'm not saying it's not rewarding, cause the day, as I remember, was very productive. But after all the work, preparation and the last presentation given, my head and mind felt totally out of place. I usually feel this way during such days after working hours, so it was kinda normal. But I always know that there is no chance of doing anything serious later on, unless I somehow clear my head and sacrifice some time to pull off the hard reset. So almost always to heal internally and push that reset button, I go for a longer run. This proven to clear my mind the most and make it ready for all the other things I want to do for the rest of the day. Alternatively, I find a longer walk is similarly helpful. At first I still feel overwhelmed and heavy on my thoughts, kinda numb overally, but after around 40 minutes it starts to get better and gives good enough results afterwards. So the day previously mentioned, I had more plans to work on a different project in the evening, and I knew that I needed to calm myself and zone towards the next thing. As stated, I've chosen a walk and stumbled upon the deer soon after. I always focus on the activity when I want to help myself lower the work tension and feel at ease again. That's probably why running seems to have such a positive effect. Same goes for a walk, but more time is needed to achieve the results. That time was very different though, as I got lost in the calming nature effect and just completely stopped massive thought stream almost right away. Instead, I just put all my senses at use. Seems that slow breaths, looking at nature and checking out all its details can be amazingly effective for stress relief purposes. It also makes all the thoughts about regular things, work or some always existing problems kinda distant. I really enjoyed it. This made me remember that nature can impact us in an amazing way, and we're just wired and built to absorb this healing energy. From that day and how it reminded me about the effect, I find out that I haven't given the nature enough credit. And I definitely try to be more near the nature than probably ever since the time. I definitely appreciate those little things that are all around me whenever I can focus on them. I appreciate them more by knowing and being aware of how much they can give when truly noticed. Actually, by doing some research, it turns out that the list of nature benefits for mental health is vast. It's reported that connecting with nature can improve your mood, reduce feelings of stress or anger, help you take true time out and feel more relaxed, improve your confidence and self-esteem, reduce loneliness, and that only some random picks from a really long list. Not a surprise that I managed to obtain this reset effect and clear my mind when I truly focused only on the nature. As I read, time spent in nature actually generally increases our ability to pay attention, because we, as humans, find nature inherently interesting, so it's easier to truly focus on what we're experiencing out in the nature. This also provides a respite for our overactive minds, refreshing us for new tasks. Exactly what happens to me, and what I call in this video a nature effect. After thinking about it for a longer time, I can't help but wonder, was I the only one who didn't pay enough attention to nature and rather pick different methods to help myself heal the mind? Maybe. Let me know in the comments. But if not, then I really suggest you to try. Next time, whenever you feel you need to hit this reset button to clear your mind, find some peaceful place with as much nature as possible and truly focus on all the small elements around you. Calm yourself down with slow breaths and silence yourself to be present in this very moment. It will allow you to develop the flow state and turn off all the thoughts or negative energy gathering within your mind. Chances are that you'd really quickly fall into still state and be surprised about the stress relief effect. It might even give you some clearance and peaceful feel. Frankly, it's also just nice to appreciate the small things, especially as our minds are always occupied in the world that is so complicated, chaotic, fast and noisy. We're so overloaded that we forget the strong roots on which we're internally built. After all, we all have the moment we need to calm ourselves down. We need some methods to get out of the high-paced routine, lower the overall stress, and get ready for whatever awaits ahead. We all have our own ways to deal with that. In this video though, I wanted to talk about a way that might not be that obvious, especially nowadays. I think there might be many of us who go for more modern methods instead. I'm not an exception, so the simple way of connecting with nature can be quite forgotten. However, as it turns out, it might also be very effective. I, for example, try to use it for some time now, and I can't say that I always feel the same way or the results are always so good. But it mostly depends on how well I can sync myself with all that's going on around me. And of course, if the environment itself allows me to sink in. Overall, I think that this method has a lot of advantages and is definitely worth a try. Not only for getting out of overload discomfort, but also for a clear appreciation and few simple moments spent alone with nature. My hope is that I reminded some of you how we can use nature effect to reset ourselves from the unhealthy overload. We're actually built to have access to this stuff, but it's so much harder to remember nowadays. Maybe even harder than ever.